and that what Spielberg was doing was elevating the art form, and because they were too snooty, they scared him off from continuing to elevate the art form.
So why do we have, what is the point of a critic? And we just talked about that a little bit with Jonesy. Mm-hmm. And a critic in a different regard, he's a stand-up comedian, and his critics, and he's also a podcaster, and this whole edgy place we live in with the world, you can't say things. That's the type of critic we're talking about in that world. In this world, it's different. It's like, what is the are critics even useful?
I think so. I think at the end of the day is, everybody's crying about artistic freedom or whatever, but when you have 100% artistic freedom, you end up making more mistakes. When people are putting challenges in front of you,
to work within parameters,
you do better. Like Truffaut said, I was better when I had less money than more, because I had to come up with creative solutions. And I think the fact that there are critics out there, they create those parameters, or at least they're policing the madmen out there that aren't, that are going to make something incoherent because I just want them to do it that way.
True.
My frustration is, and again, it's an economic thing. Like, you go to Rolling Stone, right? And they're going to have a heavy metal album reviewed. They get the critic that's the expert in heavy metal. They have a country album. They don't get the heavy metal critic unless he happens to be an expert in that too. They have the special guy to do the, right?
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden you have the person that loves to do the artsy Academy Award movie, right? Reviewing, an earnest movie, right? Well, it's not your thing. How can you review? They should have people
categories.
This is the action film. This is the comedy film, right? Or they should step back and go,
that's a great idea.
That
is a very, very good
But again, there's not enough money in it now for them to have, unless they have a bunch of stringers.
Now,
right?
What do you mean money in the film industry?
Because, well, again, it's not this. I'm going back to when I was an old guy. Like when you got the daily paper and you'd see Kenny Turan's review of the movie. You wanted to see, what did Kenny Turan say about The Color Purple, right?
Yeah.
They had at the LA Times 2 to 3 regular reviewers, and that's it. So you couldn't have like the horror person, the action person, the comedy guy, the arty film, the indie film, the Academy Awards film. They couldn't afford to do that unless they were freelancers. But then the freelancers wouldn't have the mantle of, I'm the reviewer for, the New York Times, my review carries weight. It's changed now because nobody reads the paper. You have to go to a movie site. I don't know anybody who regularly gets their movie reviews from the LA Times, the New York Times. They either go to the places, but I also don't like the Rotten Tomatoes because again, it's an averager. You should go to people that you trust.
Yeah, I do a show. It's not a very popular show. It's a show we do for fun with my family and my wife, called WTF is on Netflix. So we review something that comes out. It's either a series or a movie, and we very rarely agree with Rotten Tomatoes. Our take on it. We're not experts. We're just common people. And there's some insights we might catch that maybe a critic might catch, but we're just generally going, were we entertained by this? Mm-hmm. Yeah, there were some things that might be weird here and there. Were we entertained by it? We very rarely agree with Rotten Tomatoes. I think it's a horrible barometer. Is that a good word? A horrible judgment of what a good film is. Yeah. I've not found that I agree with them very, very often.
But I do think now it's changed that the voices that are commenting are so dissipated that it is easier to find people. I liked what he said here. I like that movie too. You can find the person that you're more simpatico with, where it used to be there were a lot less voices. The problem is there's so much noise, right, that sometimes it's hard to find those people. And the average film goer doesn't really, they probably spend more time looking at a can of Campbell's soup and how many calories and carbs it has than, like, I had people that told me, I couldn't wait to shoot 'em up. I couldn't wait to shoot 'em up. And then I didn't know it was out in the theater and it was gone. And I'm like, here's somebody who was looking for my movie. There are a lot of marketing issues, but how can you not find the movie if all you have to do on a Friday and go to Fandango and what's new this week, right? You didn't know my movie, then you're not checking Fandango or a Moviefone or whatever once a week, right? But I'm just frustrated with the lack of work people are willing to do